Hi everyone, Denise Hahn here for Xyron, and today I'm going to show you how to make some adorable paper houses. I did exactly what you did when I want to make something. I go on the internet and see how people are making it, and mostly I saw templates and little tiny houses, and I wanted to make something a little bit bigger, and I didn't want to use a template because I like to be able to adjust my sizing as I needed. So this is going to be a little house pattern that does not require a template, just some measuring. So the first thing I did is I cut myself out an 8.5 by 8 inch piece of cardstock, and I am using American Crafts. This is the Peppermint Express collection, and I'm going to put these pieces aside and use them for some other project, but the main body of our house is going to be these two pieces of 8.5 by 8, and then save these because you're going to pick one of these to be the roof of your house. Okay, so we're going to get started by doing a bunch of scoring. I think I'll score on this one because I think it's a little easier to see, or maybe not because it's the same color as a score pal. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is, this is just one half of the house and the other paper is the other half. I'm going to make sure I'm on the 8.5 inch long side, and I'm not. I'm on the 8 inch side. It's kind of hard to tell because it's almost an exact square. So make sure you're on the 8.5 inch edge. Then we're just going to go straight down the middle. Now, when you're scoring, you're going to be folding up this way, and I actually want this print to be on the outside. So I'm going to flip it over. And then I'm going to score it at exactly 4 inches. And then I'm going to score it in at 8 inches so that I have a 1/2 inch tab there on the end. Are you with me? Okay, easy. And I'm going to go ahead and give it a little bend. There's a reason why. Okay, so that's where we're at. Then the next thing I'm going to do is come down and score 2 inches. So here's my 2 inches. I'm going to go ahead and just do a light score there, and then just a light bend at my score. Okay, and here's sort of where the challenge can come in. We're going to go ahead and notch out this little rectangle at the end here. So go ahead and just notch that out. Then we're going to do a bit of measuring. I like to use my disappearing ink when I'm writing on paper. And the first measurement I'm going to do is on the part that doesn't have the notch. I'm going to make a dot at 2 inches, so right at the halfway mark of this side. And then I just kind of darken in where those little fold lines are, just to make it a little bit easier for me to see. And then another thing that makes it a little bit easier is to cut this cut first. I'm going to go ahead and just cut down to my first dot. And then you're going to want to score it from your two ends to the center point. And what I do is, on my scoreboard, I darkened in just with a Sharpie the line just to make it easier to see on my center line. You can do it on any line, but I use that when I'm doing these funky diagonals because they're not always a perfect 45 degree. Some of you have scoreboards that have like a little insert for 45, but you know, who knows what degree this is going to be. So just line up your two dots along your line, and this you already have, you know, fold the flat back. Line one up, come around, we'll score there. All right, and then fold those in. Pretty simple, pretty basic so far. So now you have one half of your house. So I'm going to go ahead and go do the same with this side, and I'll be right back. Okay, so I have my two templates. No, not templates. I have my two house walls cut out, and now I'm going to make myself a template for cutting out the windows. And I found that this is just what works best. Make yourself a template, save yourself the time. of disappointing how your houses come out. So, you know, I'm more of an eyeballer than I am symmetrical, but what I did is I took a piece of cardstock that was essentially the same size as the house here, and I want to say it ends up being 4 by 6, yeah. So cut myself out a piece of cardstock, then with my ruler I went through and I centered it so I could have a 2 by 2 inch square in the middle. You can make your windows any size you want. And then I didn't want that to be such a thin line in the center, so when I got to the center, I marked it at the halfway point. And then after I made my center line, I just took my ruler and I just went a little thicker with my Sharpie and went a little thicker on the other side. So then it gave me, you know, a little more of a stronger window. All right, so what I'm going to do with that is I'm going to go ahead and get my cutting mat and my X-Acto knife, and I'm going to cut out those holes, and I'll be right back. Okay, so now I've made my template, and I am tracing out on the opposite side. Because I have a template, I can line up exactly where I want it. On the peaked house side, I like it to be a little bit higher up in case I want to put a door or something. I don't know. Maybe I'll get crazy. And then right dead center on the squared off side. And I'm just, you know, tracing it with my pencil. This is seriously, you know, the hardest part about making these houses is this part, cutting out these little, you know, but you can do it in front of the TV. My last bit of advice before I go to cut these out myself is make sure you're changing out your X-Acto knife blades. Make sure you get refills. You're doing yourself a disservice if you're trying to use a dull blade when doing fine cutting. It's only going to cause grief. It's going to rip your paper. It's going to hurt your hand. It's going to be a nightmare. So put a nice fresh blade in your X-Acto knife, cut out all your squares, and meet me back here. Okay, so here's where I'm at. I've got my windows cut out. Yeah, that's what they're called. If you find you have some dark lines left over from your pencil markings, you can just kind of hit those with a eraser, because you can see a little bit from the inside and you don't want it to look bad like that. Also on this one, after I forgot to cut one side, I realized you could make some cute shutters too. So I don't know, I haven't done that yet, but it's looking pretty cute. So, okay, so now this is where the fun technique comes in. We're gonna make some cute frosted glass for these windows. Yes, we are. Okay, so we're gonna grab our 5-inch Creative Station. You can use your 9-inch or even your Creatopia if you want, but it must be one of the Creative Stations that has the adhesive roller in it. And what we're gonna do is something we never like to do, which is roll out some excess adhesive. We hate to waste our adhesive, but in this case, it's going to be okay. So cut yourself off a piece. I would say probably no wider than 4 inches, because you don't want to go bigger than your window. And you'll notice I've changed windows because unfortunately, as I was making my last one, I forgot to hit record. So pump yourself out a little less than 4 inches, and then what I do is just fold it in half, and I go ahead and cut it in half. So now I have kind of my glass for each window. All right, so the next thing is, notice that you have this extra selvage over here. You want to make sure that's on either side. Do a little fold. We're going to make like a little tab. So you're going to do a little fold like that in your adhesive. And then you're just going to peel the adhesive back that's on your tab. It can be a little tricky, but it's not too tricky. So that you have that, okay? Are you with me? All right. So I want this to be the showing side of my window, so I'm going to flip this over. And then what you're going to do is just take your adhesive and stick it right above your window and press it down. And then just pull the tab down. And it's just going to lay a nice thin sheet of adhesive, and then, you know, just take your finger and roll it over. I do this on top of my cutting mat, and it doesn't really stick too hard. It's not that big of a deal. Don't do it on paper. And you can see mine has a couple little creases and folds. Don't even worry about it. It just kind of adds to the effect. So now we're going to flip it over where we have the whole exposed side of the frosting, the glitter. So I'm using the Martha Stewart tinsel glitter. I think makes the best little icy effect, but you could use any kind of glitter. And I was first completely covering them in glitter, but then I realized I did want a little frosted look. So what I did is I just take that leftover, you know, backing from my adhesive, and I folded it into fourths. And you can either keep a flat side or make it completely round. You'll see in my examples I do a little bit of both. And what I'm going to do is just tear out like a thumb size of paper backing, and then just kind of stick it on. And you can flip them either way to give them a little bit of a different, you know, look if you don't want them looking that kind of symmetrical. Go a little higher up, maybe on one, lower, you know, doesn't matter. All right, perfect. Now take your tinsel glitter, or you know, whatever you're using, sprinkle a bit on there, and then use your finger to kind of spread it around, just like that. All right. Then you're gonna just tap off your excess. And then you can use tweezers or your X-Acto knife, it doesn't really matter. You're gonna peel off your little covers. Keep these because you can use them on other windows. Just put them aside, makes it a little easier. And then, as you can see, it's kind of a hard edge. No problem. All you got to do is just kind of smear your finger around it and kind of pick up some of the loose ones and get them in the center. And then, voila, you have your frosted window glass. All right, so now I'm going to continue on with the project and show you how I finished up these houses. Okay, so now we are ready to assemble. So you want to assemble after you've done all your glitter and your frosting. I just did these plain because I once again forgot to hit the record button. I don't know what's wrong with me today, but that's okay because I love making these little houses. All right, so you know, it's really your choice of whether you want to tape it on the outside so that some of the paper shows, you know, or do it on the inside. I prefer the inside. It's just a little cleaner, but that's up to you. So just take your Xyron tape runner. Let's see if I can do it the right way. And just run a line of tape down the tab. And then I like to flip it over and run some on the inside because I like it to be doubly sticky. Okay, and while you're at it, go ahead and just put a little random piece of tape on the two house tops. Put that aside. Then we're going to do the next tab. Flip it over. And then a little bit, you know, it doesn't really matter where on the rooftop. Okay, so then we are going to go and line it up. Actually, I think it's probably easier on video for me to do it this way. Line it up like so. Just make sure it's coming up to the fold. Give it a good press. Perfect. On the other side, it's a little more challenging. I like to bend it down at that angle. Makes it a little bit easier. And then line it up at the bottom first, but just barely touch it till you can get the top lined up. And then lay it down and run your finger on it on the inside. All right. So now, the next thing is make sure it's squared at this point before you glue your edges down. You might have to make some extra little bends to get it perfect, but I think that's just right. And then just lift up your little roof house into the corner right there where the fold is, and attach the tabs down on either side. All right. Okay, so you had a couple leftover pieces from when you cut these out. They're usually 8 by 4, but I found I like a roof with a little less overhang, so I cut it to 7 and then just scored in the middle. Okay, so this I decided is going to be my rooftop. So the first thing I'm going to do is go ahead and send it through my Creative Station top side face down. Run it through. Okay. Now the reason why I do that is because I'm going to be using some more of that tinsel glitter. Just peel it up. And I just kind of flip it over and put it back on that side. So now I'm just going to go ahead and sprinkle a little bit of that tinsel glitter. But I also, did I already put it away? If you want, you could just add in some regular glitter too. I think it makes it a little more sparkly on the roof, and I'm going to do that, so hold on one second. Okay, I'm back. So I have some winter frost glitter. It's a little bit of iridescent and opaque kind of mixed together. See how it just kind of makes it, you know, pop out a little bit more. And then I just run my fingers over it, making sure I'm getting all of the adhesive covered in glitter and such. A little low down there. Tap it off. All right. And then I'm going to grab my Creative Station one more time, and I'm going to run it through again, this time glitter face up. Uh-oh. Dun, dun, dun. I've come to the end of my adhesive. That's okay. Oh, look, I only missed it a tiny bit. Perfect. That edge is probably going to hang off. All right, so let's go ahead and peel it from the proper side. So this is kind of good. It kind of, you know, this does happen on your Creative Station when you get down to the end. It can be a little harried. So what I do is, that's kind of where my adhesive stops. So instead of pulling it further, I'm just going to go ahead and cut in. And then peel up. Okay. And then I'm going to go ahead and trim this off. See? Not that painful, huh? Kind of glad that happened. Okay, so like I said, I only missed this tiny little itty bitty bit, so I'm not even going to worry about it. But if I missed more, I would just go with some tape runner and fill it in. Okay, so here's our casa. We've already folded it, which makes it a lot easier, and we're just going to lay it right on the crown there. And press it down. I also like to just kind of put it on the edge like that and give it a much better press. Make sure it's adhered on good. All right, and voila, we have our sparkly roof put on. So now what I like to do is take coordinating stickers or chipboard from these paper collections to decorate the outside with. I also, on my final project, hot glued some paper straws to the roof. You could use trim, anything you wanted. So I'll be flashing by some pictures for you at the end so you can get an idea of how to decorate yours. And I hope you make your own little Christmas village, and hope you enjoyed my tutorial, and thanks for joining me in Xyron today.